And the question today is, my husband doesn't help me with the house chores. How can I make that happen? And what do I do? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And I'm going to give you some tips that would really turn things around. I know this can be quite frustrating when you want something in your marriage and it looks like it's never going to happen. But sometimes the reason why it's so difficult is because you are struggling with the way to present things and how to make it happen. This is Ask Ade Live. My name is Ade Subanjo, and I help Christians transform their marriages from struggling to thriving in as short a time as possible. And not only that, we do it in such a way that the transformation is permanent. Yes, we learn how to tap into agape to transform your marriage. So if that is you, if you are a believer, you love the Lord with all your heart, you know that your marriage ought to be way better than it is right now, and you want to do what you can within your power to make that happen, to bring that joy, peace, and bliss into your marriage, then you are in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right things. I do a video every week. I answer a question every week, and sometimes I do others. So subscribe and get all the help you need to transform your marriage. Always tips strengthen you and encourage you on your journey as a Christian who is living like Jesus and loving like Jesus. All right, so let's get to the question for today. The question is, my husband is not helping me with house chores. How can I change that? And what do I do now? So before we get into the solution, we need to really understand the question properly. So when a person writes me like that and says, my husband doesn't help me with house chores, there's a reason why that you're complaining now, not that you can't ask them. So I'm assuming that you've asked them to help you, but they're not. So in the question here, this person says, my husband is always on his phone. Once he gets back home, he's watching sermons or reels or texting or talking to friends on the phone all evening long, and the husband is not interacting with her. And whenever she complains, he gets really angry and feels disrespected. And so the marriage is really struggling right now. She's not feeling comfortable in her home, and she's not feeling like there's need to sorry, she's not feeling really loved and cared for. So she knows that there's a need for something to change, and she's writing to say, what can I do? How can I change this? When I've tried to ask, and there's just anger and complaint. Right, so this is a good place to start to understand the question. What I would say when I hear this, what comes to mind is, number one, there's more to this problem. There are some other underlying challenges there. When a person reacts negatively when you make a request, it's because they assume that you are doing something that is wrong to them. And so we need to find out from you what are some other challenges or problems that you had before. And this is just one of the other symptoms. Maybe at the beginning you were nagging and or complaining, or you ignored. So maybe at the beginning of the marriage you just did everything, and then suddenly you're changing now. Whatever it is, there's something, and it's good to go deeper and find what that thing is, so that, well, what we're solving is, it's not just the wrong thing. So I want to make sure that we always work at the lower level, deal with the real source of the problem, and the symptoms will go. So I'm not doubting that your husband doesn't like to do house chores. There are many husbands that don't like to do that, and if they grew up in homes where their mom did everything, they're going to assume that you're going to do everything. However, when you speak to a person who's just, oh, the only problem is that they don't like to do house chores and they don't believe that they're supposed to do house chores, when you tell them that, please, could you help me do this, they're not going to get angry at you and start, being really, loud and disrespectful to you. What they may do is say something like, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. I've done my part, which is to care for the home and bring the money in, and you should do your part. And I'm thinking you are arguing and saying, you know what, we both work. Yes, you may earn more than me, but we both work. And so there's a need to share this. I'm assuming that if things were good, that's what that will happen. But if the things are already going downhill and there are other underlying issues, and when you say something like, I would like you to please help me with that, the person may come up with the idea that you're trying to control them. Another reason why this can be is Maybe they have these ideas that women try to like to control men. I've heard a lot of African men say that there's a problem with the challenge of the fact that a woman tries to tell them what to do and control them when they are in North America and Europe. I've heard that. So if your husband thinks that that can be a challenge, and so we're gonna have to deal with that. So what are some of the things that could cause this to happen more, or the man to just complain? What usually would happen is there won't be anger, but there won't be movement either, and that's one I want to deal with. I don't want to deal with the one of anger because I kind of assume that if your husband is just responding negatively every time you invite them, the person that says they love you, to help you in in the things to help and be part of the work in the home, there shouldn't be animosity or anger if there's nothing else on the line. All right, he may be complaining about something in his mind, and he may be feeling that you're not listening to him in certain areas, and so he's just giving back to you by refusing to do what he knows that you want to do. So all of these things that we need to deal with. But in general, now I want to talk about in general. Say you just notice that your husband doesn't like to do house chores, and every time you say let's do the work together, for example, cleaning the house, doing laundry, cooking, all of that, he doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't do it, right? And every time you try to bring the idea that he should do it, he begins to work late and doesn't show up at home at all. Or when he comes home, he pretends to be busy, and if not, he just goes on his phone and doesn't respond. When you say, "Can you help me do this?" It doesn't respond. If that is the case, then this is what I want to answer. And I think what we're going to look at would help you. I want to look at the scripture to give us the foundation on which we're going to answer this question. My husband is not helping with house chores. How can I make a difference? So I'm going to read to you Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to read Matthew chapter 7. I'll just pick up a few verses from there, and then I will use that to explain what I want to do. So, number one, verse 1 says, "Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye?" Right? So that's the first thing I want to talk about, judging. So here you understand that house chores need to be shared. One person can do everything, and so you know that. But your husband doesn't believe that, or has some other ideas. I'm not going to go into the details of the ideas right now. But what I want to do is put you in a mindset that is not antagonistic and angry and wondering what's wrong with you. Because whether you speak or not, when you're in this mindset, you're going to, whatever you do is going to come out judgmental. So first, before you're going to say some of the things that we're going to talk about, I want you to recognize that when you meet a person that is not doing what you think they ought to do, they have a good reason. They have a reasonable, sensible reason for doing it. It may not make any sense to you, but to them it makes perfect sense. For example, a person can say the wife is supposed to do all of the house chores, and your husband is supposed to go work. And that doesn't make any sense to you, yes, because you think we're working, both of us are working. We both own the house. We're both going to enjoy what is clean and what we're going to both eat. And if you're not ready to do that, then how are you going to enjoy? But he may be thinking that, well, I'm going to do the work. I go to work. I'm going to do all the chores outside. So do the lawn mowing. If the cars need to be fixed, I'll go and fix those. If there's any breakdown in the house, that's my job. So the other things are the job of the women. So that's a thought. It doesn't need to be correct. What matters is that he thinks that way. So when you find something in your marriage that you believe that is not right, you need to remember the scripture. Whenever you think that there's a speck in your brother's eyes, check again. There may be a log in your own eye. So what does that mean? It means that you are most likely prejudiced. You are most likely coming to a conclusion without really thinking about the facts that that your husband is processing. All right. So, and why would he come to this conclusion? There's a reason. Maybe that's how the family was brought up. That's how he grew up. His mom did all of that. Maybe that's how. Maybe that's how his dad did. Maybe he didn't even have a dad. His mom did everything because his dad was never there. Whatever the reason is, it has a reason. And if you come with that mind that my husband understands things differently, and I understand them differently, and I need to figure out how to enroll him to see what I see, and I want to see what he sees, so that I can speak the language that he needs to understand, so that I can get him moving. You are in a much better place. Very important. I know that I don't have enough time to open that up, but I do have different videos that I've done. When it comes to love, love is not always thinking of what can I get for myself. When we say we're loving like Jesus, we are not trying to get things for ourselves. We're thinking about how can I lay down my life for the other. And so if this is the thing that you're working on, then you'll be able to say, okay, there's a reason why my husband is doing what he's doing. And that reason may not be the best. However, he has a reason, and it's good for him. It makes sense to him. So in order to get him to my side of the decision, or to see what I see, I need to understand what he understands. And so we're in an inquisitive mode. We're asking questions. We're discussing. So there's no animosity. There's no anger. There's laughter. There's peace when we ask this question. Now you can see why I said if there are other underlying issues, you can really do this, because the problem, you can't really laugh and discuss with someone when there's other problems. What needs to be done is to ask the husband, look, I noticed that whenever you come home, you go straight to your phone and you're there all day and you're waiting for me to cook. Is there a reason why you do that? So when you say that, something triggers in his mind that maybe this is what I thought is not the only thing that happens. And you would have done this earlier, not after 5 years of marriage, of course. This will be something you do as soon as you notice that this is happening. And you begin to ask, so what is your thought? What are your thoughts? Oh, I thought that I don't know how to cook. And so you're the one cooking. So I'm assuming that you would do that. And then this is where you can say, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. You assume that women are supposed to cook. But since we went to work, in order for the food to be ready on time, and for me not to be completely overwhelmed and stressed out, would you mind helping? So we're talking about a request. Would you mind doing this, and it will be good if we can share the responsibilities and you talk about it. You're the one seeing a problem and you're bringing the solution. Another way, of course, is if you as well sit down with him and play the games whenever he's playing, and then there will be a need to eat, right? And both of you are going to realize that we need to eat something, and you can then bring it up and say, "Oh wow, we have been playing games all night. Now we're hungry. What are we going to have?" And it's going to ask you, "What are you going to cook?" And you're going to say, "I will need your help. Since we've been having fun together, why can't we eat together?" So, but you're in a good mood. So if you are not in a mood of enrolling one another, you're going to destroy your marriage. Every time we point fingers at one another and get into the blame game, we destroy. We work against what we want in the marriage. Now, some people will say, you know what, if my husband is not going to do some work, I'm going to leave the marriage. You will not be listening to this. You will not be watching this if that was your attitude. The only reason why you're asking this is because somehow deep down within your heart, you know that you have a husband that is what staying with, but you just have this one area that is bugging you, and you want to know how to fix that. And this is what I'm trying to say to you. You begin by asking those questions, and not with a judgmental mindset. I've seen people that have told them, you ask the questions and they go with a judgmental, you're an idiot, how come you don't know this kind of mode. And that's what the guy hears. So they go and ask, do you expect me to cook all the food? And that's not what I'm saying. When you say it that way, you're trying to say, no, something's wrong with you. Why don't you know that you're supposed to help me? We can't do that. We go with a mindset that there's a reason why, and we're going to have to figure a way to enroll our spouse. It can go the other way too. It can go the other way. The husband may feel that the wife is supposed to do certain things. I've heard a husband say to me, my wife is supposed to do all the cooking, but I help her, and she's supposed to do the laundry, and I do it. And I'm really wondering what type of wife do I have? And the same works. You're going to enroll her, and call her, and say, you know what? I noticed that you've not been doing a lot of cooking and laundry. Is there a reason why? And then you're gonna work it out. One reason that I've found that a lot of people don't do house chores is when they get married like that. The wife is so excited, she loves her husband, She's happy to be a great wife. She has this mindset that to be a great wife, you're gonna have a clean home, a beautiful home. Everything's gonna be beautiful. Then she gets to work. She just cleans, 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 does all the work, does all the cooking, does everything, expecting the husband to just say, "Thank you, my darling. You're so beautiful. I love you, love you, love you. See how you've cared for the home. You've done everything. You're such a beautiful wife. I'm so glad I have you as a wife." And if he keeps saying that, they're okay. They can do all the work. They don't care. They love to do the work, but you just want the man to appreciate that, and then he doesn't. All right, so they bear it for a while, and then maybe there's some other underlying issues. Then they get really frustrated. It becomes very frustrating that they are doing all the work. So this is what usually happens. If that's the case for you, you've been doing it for maybe 1 year or 2 years. You didn't complain, but now you it's weighing down on you, and you're feeling that, look, my husband is supposed to be part of this. Why am I doing the work alone? And he's not appreciating it. He's not telling me that I'm a wonderful helper to him. So I need him to do his own part of the work. If that's the case, the same thing works. Tell yourself, I know there's a reason why, and because there's a reason why, I'm going to find out what it is. So let me go to the next thing I want to read to you in Matthew. So the first thing, don't judge. Try not to judge, so that if you don't judge internally, your body language and everything around you says, "I love you. I just want to understand what's going on here." That's the only way you can get good response from people. Why? Nobody likes to be judged. Nobody likes to be treated like a child in their own marriage. When you're married, you feel that you are at the peak of your growth as an adult. It's not the time to be talked down to. It's not the time to be treated like a child. So nobody likes that, male or female. I know male will say yes, more male than female. Yes, because male are very, 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 very sensitive to disrespect or things like that. But women too. Nobody likes to be disrespected. I'd like to make that clear. Nobody likes to be disrespected. Now, number 7, verse 7 of Matthew 7 says, "Ask and it will be given to you." Yes, Jesus is talking about God here. But in general, that works. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. It doesn't say ask God, but I know that the context gives you that idea. But I want to take that and say ask is what we need to do. So when we ask those questions about why, then we know what's going on. Is it because we just try to know? Then the next thing is make requests. Help me with this. Can you help me with this? Can we split this up? And things like that. And maybe you need to discuss and understand the philosophy of how the house will run. Are you trying to say that this is my own role, this is my part? It must be discussed. Just don't assume. So that's important. Ask for help. Make requests. Requests are different from demands, because when you make a request, it means that the person has a right to say yes or no. And a demand says you must say yes. And if you don't say yes, then I'm going to be mad at you and I'm going to try to make you feel bad. And so we want to move away from demands and make requests. That's the second thing I want to highlight there. And number 12, it says that, "Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you or people to do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophet." So you're trying to get your husband to join you and do what he's supposed to know that he's supposed to do from your own point of view. You feel that every man should understand that, you know what, we've both gone to work. When we both come back, we need to both do the work. Oh, you cook, I wash the dishes, I do the dishes, you cook, you clean the living room and the bedroom, I clean the other parts of the house, or you clean the interior, I clean the exterior. I take care of the cars and clean them, make sure everything is good. You take care of something. You want there to be support and help. Yes. And you feel at this point that your spouse is not doing that. Then this is what you need to do next to move the marriage forward. You assume that you are the one that's not doing the right thing, and ask yourself, how would you want your husband to approach you? How would you want them to approach you when you didn't recognize that you ought to do your part, or you for some reason are just not doing? You're just lazy. You just feel like relaxing. You don't just enjoy doing the things you don't like the chores, and so you wait till the last minute to do them. If that's the case, how would you like to be addressed? Think about that, because that's how, if you learn how to do this, you would get your spouse to do a lot of things without having conflicts. Or there will be disputes, or there can be conflicts of ideas or thoughts, but there will not be disputes. There will not be times where your communications break down, because you are always thinking of ways to say things to them in ways that they can accept it nicely and kindly. Now, why would anybody not do that? Is this not common sense? I'll tell you why. The reason why is because the moment we judge somebody, that's why I started with that. The moment we judge somebody, something tells us that they just want to hurt us. And because we are not used to getting our love from God, we're already on the negative. So we're saying this person is just mean and they don't care about me. And as long as you're in that mode of they don't care about me, they don't care about what we're doing, they're just very selfish and self-centered, you cannot it becomes extremely difficult to speak in ways that uplifts them and encourages them. You'll find yourself saying things that are negative. You'll find yourself reacting in ways that are negative. Even when your words that you speak genuinely out of your mouth, those words, if we were to write them down without the body language, without the tone, they look good. But because of the way you're thinking in your mind, they're going to come out not wrong. And I've heard a lot of people say, I didn't say anything wrong. And the person says, your tone. Yes, they may say your tone, but what they mean is your thoughts. Your thoughts, the way you're thinking about them, they can sense it. The reason why they got married to you and why you got married to them in the first place is because both of you were thinking good about yourselves. You were so happy to have each other in your life. You want to keep that going. They have not changed. They're the same person. You're just knowing more about them. And so you can inspire and encourage and motivate your spouse to do more of what they're not doing or what they don't enjoy doing because they love you. Yes, it's better to motivate, to inspire your spouse by love rather than by blame or by claiming rights. I expect you to share equally with me. Well, you can say that as much as you want, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. And so I want you to know that when I share these things, when I share ways to solve problems, I have two assumptions. Number one, you've made up your mind that you're not leaving the marriage, and you want to get it resolved. So sometimes I get people comment on my videos, especially on YouTube, because it's not a group like in the Facebook group. In the Facebook group, everybody knows that there's the foundational thought here. I want to keep my marriage. I believe God wants me to be in this marriage. I love my spouse. They are messing up, but I want to keep my marriage. And so when people listen to my videos and they don't have that understanding, for example, on YouTube, I hear that I see people write and say, how are you supporting someone that is not responsible? She should leave the marriage immediately and leave him to his mess, right? Yes. If that is your mindset, most likely you're not seeking answers to this kind of question that I'm answering. The question I'm answering here is a person made up their mind, I want to stay in my marriage. I believe God wants me to love my spouse. And I believe we have hope. How can I change that? And so my answer can never be leave him. You will never hear me say that. I will never say that because that's not the goal of this group. And this is not the goal of my ministry. My ministry is to help those who already made up their mind that they want to keep the marriage and want to make the marriage work. And so if you've made up your mind that I'm not going to judge and throw my marriage away because of all the weaknesses that I see, I want to rather know how to handle those weaknesses, then you're in a good place. You're in a good place. And I find that a lot of people get that done. When you learn how to handle the weakness of your spouse, you are in a great place because that's what love looks like. Love says, I see your weaknesses. I'm not ignorant of them, but I'm going to stand with you to move forward regardless of them. And I will be the strength where you're weak, and I would encourage you and inspire you to be the strength when I am weak, because I have weaknesses, you have weaknesses, and together we can. Now it's true that you may stand with your spouse in their own weakness, and when it comes to yours, they leave you. Yes, it's possible that happens, but the cool thing is that when you learn to love like that, even if they leave you, it is their loss. It is their loss, because love in its own self, when it's poured out, it's a blessing. It comes back. The blessing comes back to you, regardless of how the other person received it. This is the beauty of love. All right. So I hope that has helped you. Many times I do this, and people ask other questions, and I may not be able to see your questions. So I'm going to just scroll through the chat, make sure that everything is there. Yes. Okay. Good. If you are interested in knowing more and digging deeper into the process of learning to recover your marriage and become strong so that you can handle your spouse's weaknesses, I have a masterclass that I do, 5 proven steps to rebuild your marriage from scratch. I do that, and I think it's one of the best things that I do, and I give out for free because I really go into the steps and I share them with you. And if you can follow the steps, you would be amazed at how your marriage can be turned around. So if you want to get that masterclass, register. I think the next time will be sometime either in September, because in August myself and my wife and family were on vacation. So get the register for the masterclass, and I'll send you a reminder. So adesobanja.com/masterclass, and I will be happy to do that training for you. We go for about 90 minutes. It's live. You can ask your own personal questions. So we go for 90 minutes, and I turn off the recording, and we deal with personal issues. It's a blessing, and I encourage you to do so. All right. So, Father, I thank you for everyone that is here, and I declare blessings over their home, blessings over their hearts, blessings over their marriage, and may your name be glorified forever. In Jesus' name. All right. God bless you, everybody. See you next time.